What is and why is security policy so important? Security policy brings together everything inside your organization. We're going to dive in and explain how security policies connect with everything that we've covered so far. Up to this point, we've talked about AI, ethics, prompt engineering, business uses for AI, machine learning basics, how to evaluate models. We've talked about networking. We've talked about network security, incident response, business continuity, disaster recovery, data security, encryption, access control, and the list goes on. So today I'm trying to bring it all together for you. If you remember one thing, it will be that security policy is the glue that connects technology, people, and process. Without policy, security becomes inconsistent. It's reactive. It's confusing. With policy, organizations have direction, accountability, and a common standard for decision making. So, why policy matters? A security policy is not just a document sitting in a folder somewhere. It's a set of rules and expectations that shape how an organization can protect its data, their systems, their users, as well as their brand reputation. Policies matter because it answers questions like, what are you and I allowed to do? What is the employees up to? What are they not allowed to do? How should sensitive data be handled? What happens when something goes wrong? And who is responsible for responding? To simply put it, policies turn security from an abstract idea into a practical business function. A strong policy helps everyone understand what is expected. It reduces confusion, it supports compliance, and gives organizations a clear way to respond to risk. So let's think about policy as the foundation of security. Think about all the topics I've listed and we've covered in the course. AI acceptance use policies connects the AI ethics and our privacy. Passwords and MFA policies connect to authentication. Incident response reporting policy connects to our IR and our disaster recovery. With data classification policy, we're able to connect privacy and data handling. Remote workforce policy, it connects to our network security. And then cloud and AI usage policy will help connect the cloud and our system security. Each of these policies supports a different area, but together they create a strong overall security posture. That is why policy is so important. It brings all technical pieces into one business strategy. So let's talk about this now. How do policies help shape the behavior of your organization? One of the biggest misconceptions about cybersecurity is that it's only about tools. Firewalls, encryption, monitoring, they matter, but people are often the deciding factor. Policies shape behavior by setting expectations for how do we use email? What is our password habits? What is our AI usage? What does the device security look like? And then how do you and I report suspicious activity? For example, if a company has a strong policy that says suspicious emails must be reported immediately, employees are more likely to act quickly when they see a phishing attempt. If there's no policy, people may just simply ignore the email, forward it to a coworker, or click on it by mistake. This is why policies are so powerful. It influences human decisions. And human decisions are often where many attacks succeed or fail. Additionally, a policy can save a business. Let's make this real with a simple scenario. Imagine a phishing email is sent to someone in the finance department. The email looks urgent and asks for a payment update or an account verification. Now think about what happens if the organization has a good policy in place. First, the employee knows to report the email immediately. Second, access control limits what an employee can do. Even if the message is convincing, their privileges are restricted. Third, the incident response policy tells the team exactly how they need to react. Additionally, the data classification policy helps limit unnecessary exposure if sensitive information is involved. That one policy framework can make the difference between a small incident and a multi-million-dollar breach. This is what security policy does in the real world. It doesn't just protect the computers, it protects your business, which leads us into the governance around our policies. Security policy is a major part of governance. Governance is about direction, accountability, and oversight. Policy is one of the main ways that governance becomes real and tangible. If leadership says we care about security, but there's no policy, then the statement is not enough. Policy turns intent into action. A well designed policy should be clear, realistic, enforceable, should align with your business goals, and updated as any of your technologies change. That last point matters. As technology evolves, your policies must evolve too. For example, AI use has changed workplace behavior. Cloud computing has changed how data is stored and accessed. Remote work has changed how organizations secure our endpoints. API integrations have changed how systems share data. A policy written 5 years ago may not cover today's risk. It probably doesn't. That is why organizations must review and update policies on a regular cadence. So when's the last time your organization did a policy review? If you had an audit recently, probably then. If you're not up for audit, put something on your calendar. Go review those policies. Policy and business value. Again, think of your policies as a business enablement. Security policies is not only about avoiding problems. It's there to create value. Strong policies will help your organizations build customer trust, helps you maintain and support your compliance journey. If you're in a regulated environment, you're able to bid for jobs. It reduces your legal exposure and can help prevent and maintain downtime. Policies also improve consistency across your different teams. In that sense, cybersecurity is a business enabler. A company with a mature policy is more likely to win contracts, pass an audit, and avoid unneeded and costly mistakes. A company with weak or outdated policies may struggle with compliance, customer confidence, or even operational resilience. So when you think about a policy, don't just think about restrictions. Think about it as an enablement for your organization. Policies help operate safely and confidently. So let's connect the topics from the course so far. I'll briefly point back to policies to the major topics of the course. The first one is AI and ethics. We've discussed how organizations must and need to use AI responsibly. That requires policy around acceptable use, privacy, and data handling. A policy should also be in place to make sure that you have an AI governance and that committee is meeting regularly to discuss AI usage. Prompt engineering. We've learned the ways we ask questions affect what AI gives back. Policies help define appropriate uses in a business setting, such as I cannot ask for financial data unless I'm in an approved software, not able to look at HR benefits unless I'm in the right department. Machine learning and model evaluation. We learned that models can be wrong. They can have biases or be overfitted. Your policies help determine when and how those models should be used. Think about that when you're interacting with a local model or a model that you paid for that's either embedded into your software as a service or that your team is building. Networking and network security. We've studied how data moves and how networks are attacked. Policies support secure configurations, how your access is restricted, and the monitoring expectations we need. Review those, update those, and maintain those policies, procedures, and configurations. Now think about your incident response, your business continuity, and your disaster recovery. We've learned to prepare for disruptions and how we're going to recover. Those policies define who does what, when, and how, making sure that you can recover your business to meet your return to operations, to make sure that you have your mean time to response, to make sure you have your mean time to detection, because it's documented and tracked. Access controls, as we've covered, is about least privilege, multi-factor, privilege access management, and segmentation. Your policies tell users what access is appropriate, and your controls protect them. Next is data security and encryption. We've learned about classification, encryption, hashing, retention, and destruction. Your policies help the organization know how to protect their data, how long to store their data, and when to start deleting and destroying said data, especially around sensitivity, internal information, proprietary information, or public customer data. Which leads us into governance, risk, and compliance. We've looked at those. We've talked about how governance, risk, and compliance apply to us as humans, how they apply to our APIs, how they apply to automation. Policies give these efforts structure and accountability. So by this point, you can see that policy is not separate from cybersecurity. It's part of every security decision. So what should you take away? As we wrap up the course, here's the biggest takeaway. Security is ultimately about people, process, and purpose, not just technology. Technology gives us tools, process gives us structure, people make the decisions. Policy will connect all three. Everything you do in business involves data, and everything involving data requires security. That means cybersecurity is not just a technical career. It's a business, legal, ethical, and strategic responsibility. So where do we go from here? This course is only the beginning. If you want to keep building on what you learn, consider the following paths. More networking classwork, if you want to go deeper in your technical foundation. Programming in databases, if you want to understand how the systems really work. Think about the advanced security courses, if you want to go further into defense, governance, or incident response. Look at certifications such as the SEC Plus, the CYSA Plus, the CCSK, the CCSP, the Azure 500, or even the ISC2 CC, Certified Cybersecurity, which leads you up to the CISSP, depending on your career paths. Look for internships, build a lab, play with those projects, look at hands-on practices to build real-world experiences. The more you learn, the more you will see that security policy is not just theory. It's one of the most practical tools a professional can have. So here's my final thoughts for you. And I want to end with two simple ideas. First, security policy is how organizations turn values into action. Second, security is a shared responsibility across people, process, and technology. You now have an understanding of the foundation of modern cybersecurity. You've seen how AI, networking, access control, encryption, incident response, data protection, and governance all fit together. That's a big achievement. Thank you for staying engaged with these topics. I hope this helped you see cybersecurity not just as a set of tools, but as a way to think about business, risk, and responsibility. Stay safe and stay secure, everyone.